Brian Schottenheimer to do that. I mean, running the ball every down, every first and second down. How predictable can you be? Now, there are some who will make the argument, don't go away from what got you there. Do what brought you there. I get that part. But the flip side is, even though the running game is something that you got to be a bit patient with, in the same breath, you got to know your personnel too, and you know what they're going up against. Jalen Smith and this kid Van Der Esch at the linebacker spot for the Dallas Cowboys is flat out special. It's flat out special. Remember, it's not the Cowboys I hate, it's their fans. I can't stand their fans, but I'm fine with the Cowboys. I'm going to call it like I see it. Ezekiel Elliott is a stud. By the way, do an extension. Pay that man. Pay that man. Ezekiel Elliott deserves to be one of the top 2 paid running backs in all of football, period. There's nothing to discuss. Nothing to discuss. You pay that man. Dak Prescott, my dad, deserved to be a top 5 paid quarterback, but he deserved about $25 million a year. When Jay Cutler, once upon a time, a couple of years ago, could get $26, $27 million. When Matthew Stafford, who's never won a playoff game, could get about $27 million. When Matt Ryan could get $30 million, even though he did go to the Super Bowl and has been on a few playoff games. I don't want to hear that Dak Prescott don't deserve $20 to $25 million a year. Easy. Yes, he does. But these brothers at the linebacker spot for the Dallas Cowboys, Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, Jalen, who was spying Russell Wilson practically all night long. I'm telling you right now, these brothers are special. These brothers are special. And by the way, as an aside, Allen Hurns, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, nasty ankle injury. You saw the bone crack. It was bad. I want to applaud both Fox Television at the time and then later on after the game, ESPN, for not re-airing that. You didn't even need to see it. I mean, that was so bad. That was so bad. I don't know why we playing it now. I don't think we need to. Oh, Lord. I don't even think we need to see it. That was so nasty. I just saw it again. That was so nasty. They did the right thing by not re-airing that. They really did. It doesn't get any better than Joe Buck and Troy Aikman calling games. It really, really doesn't. Even though I like our team too. But I got to tell you something. These guys, Dallas's front 7 is something to behold, and it's something to be reckoned with. I'd love to deny it just for the sake of making Cowboy fans miserable. But from DeMarcus Lawrence on down to Collins, Woods, Crawford, Brown with Smith and Van Der Esch, I mean, it's something special. Seattle couldn't get nothing going. It couldn't get anything going all night long. Carson, you got the number 1 running attack in football. But it was by committee. Led by Carson, but still by committee. Carson, for the game, 13 carries, 20 yards. He didn't even average 2 yards a carry. So the way I look at it and where I'm coming from with it, I can tell you that I just thought that Pete Carroll in concert with Brian Schottenheimer should have just mixed it up a little bit. And if you weren't going to have Russell Wilson throwing the football, at least have him running more than 3 times. At least have him running more than 3 times. I think that's something that they should have done. I also think the Cowboys lucked up by Sebastian Janikowski with that 57-yard field goal attempt, basically straining his hamstring and not being available for the rest of the game. At the end of the first half, he injured his hamstring, his left hamstring, and then after that, he goes down and he can't go the rest of the game. Talk about a brother that needed to lose some weight. I'm sorry, that just looked like you just out of shape. I know he's got a powerful leg, but it just looked like you're out of shape. That's what it looked like. And so you didn't have a kicker. And then at the end of the game, you're still in a position to possibly capture an onside kick and put yourself in position to really make it happen. But what happens? The guy replacing him gives you the worst onside kick in history. I mean, it was hard to do. You got one job. I don't give a damn what kind of kick it was. You got one job. One. You kick the football. Whether it's punting or kicking off the tee to kick a field goal, whatever, I don't care. You got one job. Give your team a chance. It's 24-22. You recover the football. You can make one play that puts you in a position to kick the game-winning field goal, and you couldn't do it. And yes, I had picked Seattle to win this game with a field goal to win it, to literally close it out as time expired. And that's exactly what could have happened had they got the onside kick. But it didn't happen. Because you got kickers that forget how to kick. One job. One job. But getting back to this whole Nick Foles, Carson Wentz thing, the only reason that I'm not trying to be negative, I like Nick Foles. Nick Foles could be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I get all of that. But the only reason I'm going off is because everybody's raving like this guy is the second coming because you know what? The run that he had last year to help Philadelphia capture its first Super Bowl title. And then obviously he fills in again for the injured Carson Wentz. It's not like Carson Wentz got benched. It's not like Carson Wentz is some scrub. It's not like Carson Wentz has not played well. That's not what's going on here. The reality of the situation is that Carson Wentz has been injured. Last year was the nasty knee injury that suffered in L.A. This year is the cracked vertebrae in the back. That's what's going on here. There's not some situation where Carson Wentz, I'm not seeing Nick Foles do things that Carson Wentz can't do. You trying to tell me Carson Wentz couldn't score 16 points? You trying to tell me Carson Wentz couldn't make something happen? Nothing? I just think people get a bit beside themselves. I really do. And I think you need to stop. That's not what's going on here. Carson Wentz can ball. Carson Wentz is the future for the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you think for 1 second that Nick Foles is that answer, I'm sorry. I don't know where you're getting that from. I don't give a damn about his late stretch run. Let's put things in its proper perspective when it comes to Nick Foles, who is good. And by all accounts, a very good man. That's impossible to root against. And I'm certainly not doing that. But I do think it's important to point out, last year, Nick Foles comes in. You playing with house money. Carson Wentz is en route to a league MVP honors in his second year. He gets hurt against L.A. Nick Foles comes in, saves your season to some degree with a few games left. But you are already 11-2. All right? And then what does Nick Foles do? That's a home game in the playoffs. You had a home game against Atlanta. You had a home game in the NFC Championship game against Case Keenum and a Minnesota Vikings defense that had just given up 24 points in the second half to New Orleans and got there by pure luck, the miracle in Minneapolis, because some defender had forgot the damn tackle. Then not only that, you go to the Super Bowl and Bill Belichick forgets to insert a cornerback in Malcolm Butler, who had played 97.8% of the snaps in the regular season, 100% of the snaps in the postseason, and his personal feelings infiltrated the mix. They removed their best cornerback from the game. He doesn't find out he's not playing until right before tip-off. He's on the sideline crying. And still, you lost. You won, rather, if you're the New England Patriots, despite a 500-yard performance by Tom Brady. When Doug Peterson pulls out the Philly special and ultimately Nick Foles catches a touchdown pass. But I'm just saying, you were playing with house money. Nobody was expecting you to beat New England. And Minnesota and Atlanta were home games. This year, big-time victory yesterday, no doubt. You scored 16 points. That offensive line protecting you. That defense playing lights out. Let's see what you do against New Orleans this week. That's all I'm saying. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I should have told you at the time we were striving for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Now I'll tell you, that was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, Peloton is a game-changing indoor cycling bike that brings the energy of live studio classes right to your home anytime you want. Winter or summer, rain or shine. Whether it's a monthly challenge to meet your goals, a training program for your next race, or setting a new personal best, the Peloton bike will make you want to show up and keep climbing a live leaderboard year-round. On average, Peloton members are riding their bikes more every year and crushing their personal records along the way. Learn more about the Peloton bike at onepeloton.com or visit your local showroom. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stphen A, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We will get to your calls and more. Plus, I got the Ravens and Chargers to talk about, along with Indianapolis versus Houston to talk about. All that and more coming up. Don't touch that dial. You're listening live to Stphen A, ESPN